I'm really happy to be here and happy AAC Awareness Month to everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where in the world you are. I'm excited to share the role of communication partners in AAC support. And I'll be focusing on a couple of things, which I'll share about as well. Next, please. Yeah, as Lalita shared, I am a speech language therapist. I'm currently in Singapore and I'm fully employed at a social service agency called SPD in Singapore. Prior to this, I was actually in India working with early intervention at the Deal Trust. And I had the opportunity of working with verbal and non-speaking autistic children. And I had an experience of engaging with AAC as well. I also helm a lot of volunteer roles. One of my biggest is in the area of my passion, which is AAC. I'm part of the AAC Singapore committee as a member, and the AAC Singapore chapter is a chapter from AAC International, the body that helms AAC advocacy worldwide. I'm not only a committee member, but I also lead the AAC Also Can team. And I will be talking a little about that later because it really strengthens and talks about where communication partners actually come in as well. Next, please. So let's begin. And I do hope that from my presentation, you have some takeaways. The core messages that I want to drive today are two. One, actually looking at who are communication partners and thinking about the communication partners that are there in your lives or the lives of your children or the lives of the autistic or the AAC user. Then I also want to talk about how we can build skills or think about opportunities through those communication partners to actually get AAC use and opportunities to use AAC further in. Next, please. Next slide. So to begin with today, I actually want to start from a little of the basics to get everyone on the same page, because I think that will drive my message home a bit more. So when we are working with communication partners, sometimes we do need to explain what is AAC. And I've taken a definition, per se, from the ASHA website, the public website. And I thought it was very easy to communicate when we're talking to someone who's new to AAC as well. So AAC means, can you please do the next? AAC means all the ways of communicating or all the ways that someone communicates that are besides talking. And I thought that was a very easy way to introduce AAC to many people. Next, please. But when we delve a little further, we do look at other definitions. And I looked at the AAC International website, and over there, Linda Burkhardt has talked about what AAC is. Next. So AAC is a set of tools and strategies that an individual will use to solve everyday communication challenges. I do want to emphasize that here we're looking at multiple forms of communication. So it doesn't have to be any one form of communication. Next. And the most important part of AAC is that we're looking at a way to successfully communicate a message, a way a message can be understood by communication partners successfully. So that's what we hope that AAC looks at. So again, I want to talk about here in the definition, please go back. We're looking at how it says there are tools and strategies. Next, please. But it's actually not uncommon for me as a therapist, or maybe also yourselves, to have heard many people ask, so what device or what app can my child use? And many times a lot of importance is laid on the tool itself. So many times like, so can I use this app and start with the communication process for my child or the person with communication difficulties. But I do want to highlight, which becomes really important in this presentation, is that AAC, an AAC system or an introduction of AAC does not only look at the tool or the device. Next, please. But what we do also need to focus on are other things, which are the strategies or the opportunities that are there. So the who will be involved in the interaction when we're looking at building opportunities for AAC use. What are the strategies, or how do we engage with everybody, or how do we engage the use of the AAC to ensure that there are sufficient opportunities for communication? So this also helps us understand that when we're looking at AAC, it's the tool and the strategies and perhaps the environment that the individual or the person with communication difficulties has, which lays a lot of importance of how we look at success for AAC. Next, please. So for all of us who are here in today's talk, I would like you to go to the chat function and actually tell me, what do you understand? What is a communication partner? Who are communication partners? What does that mean to you? So I'm going to give everyone a few seconds or a minute or so. Just type in the chat and tell me, what do you understand when we say communication partners? So I'm reading the child, us, parents, teachers, family members, everyone around us. Okay, I'm seeing very nice answers of who communication partners are. So next slide, please. Yes, and I hear the theme of what the definition of communication partners is quite often in the webinar chat as well. A communication partner are people who engage and interact with the individual. So like everyone rightly was saying, it is many people or everyone around the individual who has an opportunity to engage and interact with the person as well. And what is important to remember is that not only is the training for the work with the individual who uses AAC important, but also working with the communication partner becomes very important, because both are important for success of AAC use as well. Next, please. So when I think about communication partners and I'm thinking about the many people, I do have to talk about the circles of communication partners paradigm. Now, this is a paradigm or a framework that was developed by Dr. Sarah Blackstone and Hunt Berg in the 1990s. And it is part of the assessment tool, which is the social networks. The circle of communication partners paradigm lets us understand who are the people around the person who may be using AAC or the person with communication difficulties. So when we look at the circles on the right side, we have to remember that when we're thinking about the communication partners, the crux or the main person is the person with communication difficulties, who forms the center or the core. And the people are the rungs around. There are 5 rungs that are around in the circles of communication partner, each of which is a different tier based on the level of interaction and closeness that the person has with these partners. So in the paradigm or the framework, there are each tiers represent different communication partners. The first one, which is the closest to the person, includes the lifelong communication partners. So that would be parents. It would be someone who takes care of the daily needs, maybe food, clothing, getting ready. It could also be, if it's an adult using AAC, it could also be a spouse. So a lifelong communication partner has the closest interaction with the AAC user and is typically taking care of the needs of the person. The next rung, which is the second tier, next please, relates to close friends and relatives. Now, this definitely would include maybe peers. So if it's a teenager, then peers of the teenager's age. It could be relatives, it could be aunts and uncles who might not be living with the AAC user, the person with communication difficulties, but they do spend time. The interaction that the person using AAC has with these people would be and might be on slightly different topics. It might be, for example, when I talk to peers, I might be talking about my interests versus when I talk to my lifelong communication partners like my mom or my husband, I might have more personal topics or daily living topics that I will talk about. So definitely those are some tiers of communication partners. The third one, next page, is acquaintances, people who you do meet, you don't know very well, but you will get to meet perhaps more regularly than unfamiliar people. So it could be someone who might be at a shop that you visit very often, and that shopkeeper really knows the Canada auntie, uncle, actually knows what you buy every day. It might be a chocolate, or it could be maybe the chai wala that we visit very often and we have acquainted to. So he knows exactly how much sugar you like, or he or she you like in the tea or coffee that you take. So acquaintances, yes, you will meet them, but you don't have a very close relationship with. The next tier refers to paid partners. So paid partners are typically teachers, therapists, coaches, who form an important tier in the lives of the person with communication difficulties. And it's likely that there is a close relationship with paid partners due to the frequency that we might be visiting them as well. The next one would be unfamiliar partners. So unfamiliar partners are those strangers who we meet, we happen to chance upon as well. So what I do want to bring about that these circles of communication partners was developed in a way to let clinicians help to identify and assess who are the partners of the person using AAC. And based on that assessment, we can then understand how will we then educate the partners and make them ready partners for communication. In this presentation, I thought this would be important because this will be the crux of when we're thinking about what or who will we engage with when we're thinking of opportunities for AAC use. Next, please. So now when we've thought about these different tiers, I do want you to think about the communication partner. So if you are a parent and you're attending, think about your child's communication partners and those that are available for interaction and do use the AAC with your child. For clinicians or teachers who are here, you can think about one or two different children that you work with. And actually think about, are these rungs of communication partners there in the lives of that child or that individual? So I want you to spend a minute, maybe just typing into the chat and letting me hear about who are the people in the lives of the person who uses AAC, and are they available for communication? You can actually go back one slide, Lakshmi. So I'm seeing some answers trickle in. And what I'm hearing right now is that lifelong partners and paid partners like teachers form the crux of the communication partners, or form the many people that are available for interaction with the AAC users. It's nice to see siblings as well. And from my experience and many clinicians that I work alongside, this is the reality of the situation, that many times for persons who use AAC initially or during the early years of engagement, many times the communication partners get limited to lifelong partners and paid partners as well. Next, please. Thank you all for sharing. Next, please. Yeah. So what I do want to share with this slide is back please. Basically to let you know that when we're thinking about all the communication partners, we may like to tap upon unfamiliar partners or people we don't know, or even acquaintances, and be able to actually see how we can draw in opportunities to make it a communication environment or a communication moment for our individual or the person who uses AAC. Next, please. So in the next half an hour or so, I will be talking you through a few ideas that are drawn from my experience and my work that I do with AAC. And it will answer the question of what and how. So when we look at that is how do we look or how do we create those opportunities for communication? And what are the strategies that we actually need to employ to build the skills of the communication partners that we want to look at? So when we're looking at these questions, there are three main areas that I'll tap upon. Communicating or educating communication partners is important, but my first work with many of the communication partners ends up being advocacy, advocating for the fact that there are different forms of communication. The second thing is education, and it is the strategies that we will build and we will educate the communication partners about, and I will talk about that briefly. And of course, drawing all this together and integrating the information, we will think about some opportunities, and I will be talking to you about that through some examples of how I have done it with some parents, or some parents have done it as well. Next, please. So when we're advocating for different forms of communication, many times we might be telling different communication partners that, oh, my child will show you what he wants to say. My child will lead you to what he or she wants. Or my child will be pressing the AAC to be able to communicate and let you hear what is being said. Those are great ways to get the conversation started. But I want to talk to you about something that's concrete, that can be actually brought around and shared with a variety of communication partners. That is the communication passport. Communication passports comes, like you can see, it has the word passport in it. It is something that's personal and has a lot of particulars of the individual. By creating a communication partner, your communication passport, you're creating a document that actually has information about maybe the likes, the dislikes, and some important information about the health condition of your child or the individual who uses AAC. But importantly for this presentation, we should also talk about that the passport does include and can include different forms of communication in a more visual manner. So here are some illustrations of what it could look like. So on top, you see that there is a photo of an individual doing and indicating or saying he is ready. So when he is ready, he has thumbs up. For a new or unfamiliar communication partner, or even if it's a clinician who's new to the child, many of these gestures or signs might be difficult to understand. So one, in a more concrete way, capturing it in a video or a photo form, and also having it available for others to see is important. These cards can actually be available to different communication partners and be taken to them so that they can flip through and actually know, oh, when the child does this or when the individual does this, it means he is ready, or it means he needs an adult to help him. But most importantly, I feel in communication passports, when such information is given, it's important to also talk about what does the communication partner do. So for example, when the child says ready with thumbs up, what should the communication partner do? Maybe begin the activity. So having this available in a concrete form, which could be flip sides of a card, is very important. So if the child is showing that this is how he indicates that he's scared, then what should the adult do? Comfort the child or comfort the individual. Ask if he or she needs a hug, but wait for a head shake or nod. So very clear instructions sometimes will also build the ability to understand the AAC user as a person who uses different forms of communication. Next, please. And to be able to take this further, what becomes important is maybe having it available in a way that can be portable. I've worked with families and individuals who've actually taken these passports along and maybe clipped it onto their AAC, clipped it onto their bag or even wheelchair so that they can very quickly share it with other people who may not be familiar with the communication modalities. This really brings advocacy to a different light, and it allows people to understand that, yes, this person is able to communicate and they are able to see the abilities, which becomes one of the most important things when we're advocating for different forms of communication. Next, please. Aside from this, another part of advocacy actually comes from taking the AAC into the community. I know this sounds like a very simple suggestion, but it is a very important part of it. I remember very recently when I went with Isaac Singapore for an outing into a play, which was a community play, a play where everybody was invited. And we were engaging with AAC quite actively with all the participants who came with us. What did happen is when we took the AACs and we used the AACs into community, of course, we got curiosity and curious stares, and people were very intrigued to see what's happening. But most importantly, we saw members of the community come up and actually ask about what's happening here. How is this child communicating? And be able to educate passerbys or unfamiliar communication partners through this way becomes important. What I remember from that event particularly is the people who actually helmed the plays, they got very curious about AAC. So we know that the next time we go into it, we have already advocated that there are these different forms of communication. We will see more acceptance as well. Next, please. So after advocating and after bringing the AACs around, we have to understand also that there is this portion of educating that we need to look at. I'm going to look at 2 communication partner strategies that are very close to my heart and share about them. And I also feel that these are a good beginning for very new communication partners or partners that may not be ready to actually engage with AACs as actively as maybe the most familiar communication partner, like the mother or the parents, etc. So the 2 strategies, the first one that I'll be talking about is modeling, also called as aided language stimulation. Next, please. So aided language stimulation, like many of you would know, is basically where the communication partner will engage with using the AAC. So then the person will actually point and speak the message out loud of what they want to say on the AAC system that the AAC user uses. The idea is that we will use AAC to teach AAC. It also has a bigger message and what I feel that communication partners actually also learn how to slow down their communication for these interactions because they're also using the AAC. It also provides a way to allow AAC to be in the environment quite naturally and then making it available for anyone to use all the time as well. Next, please. So I know many of you may have already heard about aided language stimulation, and I want to show you a video. So this video is from the manual of modeling that has been created by SPD. And this is one of the videos where you're going to see the therapist or a clinician on the right side with a mom on the left, engaging and modeling with the child in quite a natural situation about food and drink. So we'll watch a bit of this.
Put this here. Wait. You finish eating first. Oh, you want mommy too?
Go.
Close the water bottle. Delicious biscuits. Yummy. Oh. Yes, Jensen?
Yeah, but
I want.
Mom.
Oh, more. You said more.
More what? More what?
More bigger.
Biscuits. Okay, tell you what. Mommy
Baby.
give
Get.
you. Okay, mommy give you.
You say? Say.
Oh.
Bigger. Bigger.
Yeah, thank you, mommy. Think you finished your biscuits.
Finished.
What is it? What is it? I think yeah. Yes?
More bigger.
Oh, I want more biscuits. Let's check.
We'll
Let's look.
pause there.
See?
No more.
Perfect, thank you. So as you can see in this video, modeling was used for a variety of purposes. It was used to be able to help expand what the child is saying, clarify the message, also think about, what is the child thinking? And modeling plays a very important part to be able to communicate that clearly with the AAC system. Next, please.
Jensen.
So when
mommy. Mommy.
Bigger.
Jensen. Jensen wants
Bigger.
biscuit. Yeah, look, please.
Show, show, show.
we'll move to the next slide. So when we're thinking about modeling and thinking about how to communicate this with different communication partners across the different rungs that we saw, it's very important. And in my line of work with the parents that I've worked with, I thought it was very important to understand that we break down what modeling can mean. And sometimes breaking it down to, you do need to point and speak the message out loud. So you're pointing on the system and speaking the message out loud. You do need to, bottom left, if you can see there's a go slow and give time. Sometimes we need to elaborate on that. So go slow when you're actually modeling on the AAC system. And thirdly, it could be just emphasizing. Sometimes you do not need to be perfect with your models, but you need to focus more on the connection, the top right picture as well. So in the manual of modeling that SPD has created, we're actually broken down the technique of modeling into different ways. So it becomes easily digestible for a variety of communication partners as well. Next, please. So when working with communication partners, there may be some resistance, and I think that is quite natural. I've heard parents and different partners actually talk to me that I really can't find the words. I think the AAC user is faster than I am, or maybe I should just start modeling when I feel I'm ready and I know the system more. I'm way too slow. Next, please. And I think this actually emphasizes on how ready the person might be or feel to be able to engage in using modeling or actually interacting with the AAC users. But this should not hold us back. We do need to look at who the communication partners will be and identify people who might be ready to take a small step ahead. But most importantly, when we're working with communication partners or working at developing communication partners for interaction, we need to be able to start at the level that the partner is at. And I'll give some examples on this. Also, many times what I've seen really being helpful is be able to co-create what that communication environment can look like. Next, please. So as an example, when we're looking at an example of starting at the level of the communication partner, I'm thinking about a family that I worked with where there was a young boy who actually uses the system on the left, the pod system. And the mom, like many of you mentioned in the chat box, the mom was the main communication partner. She used AAC with him day in and day out, but she was not really seeing a lot of engagement with the pod or AAC system and the child with other family members as well. They have a nanny called a helper here in Singapore, and the helper would actually engage with the child quite often throughout the day. She was like one of the lifelong partners or communication partners for the child. She actually was quite new to AAC and she didn't quite understand it. She saw her the son's mom use it, but she didn't have the confidence. But what made this helper or the nanny an ideal next communication partner to work with was that she actually had these points of connections with the child. And she had a routine that she worked with where she had opportunities, as per the mom and me, to be able to use for communication. So what we realized is maybe we need to tap on it. Next, please. So we realized her confidence to flip through the pages was low, but she really wanted to connect with the boy. And we thought about one routine activity that she used to do, which is taking him to the garden for a walk. And that was a routine activity. The boy wasn't very stable, so communicating with him while he's trying to walk was quite difficult. But when he's seated, the system would be out and it would be quite easy for us to communicate and for him to communicate back as well. So to build skills for the communication, we started where she is at. She was not comfortable flipping through the pages, but we knew we had to navigate through some of the pages. So the mom and I brainstormed, and mom was quite creative. And she said, hey, we can put Post-its and we can use that as a way that the helper just follows the sequence and follows exactly what to point to. So next, please. So by doing that, we actually indicated where we need to go, how to get to different pages, making it a little easier for the helper to go through. So you can see we can point through it. We actually had red Post-its on the symbols that we wanted her to point, and we would get her to speak what she's pointing at. So it focused only on this one routine. And we said, when you take the boy and seat him to wear the shoes, we just want you to follow these 4 steps. And to our surprise, by doing this on a regular basis, and actually we saw that there was a better connection. They had conversations about the garden. They were able to actually understand each other a bit better. And the helper actually got more confident to try more words on the AAC system. And we started to work further with her as well. So starting at the level that the communication partner should be, and one of the main things that we try to look at when we're looking at identifying communication partners as well. Next, please. Example of what that could mean of creating the communication environment and starting at the level of the communication partner is from my work with teachers in a special education school. So in the classroom, the teachers are not only looking at that one child that I'm working with, but also others as well. What becomes important for me to work with teachers is to make sure that the vocabulary or the words that the child needs and wants, and the teacher wants to say and model, are all in the system. So we make sure, and this is when we're co-creating the environment and making sure we have everything ready to give confidence to the teacher, we make sure that all the vocabulary is in place. So for this child, in this example, it's a child who really liked art. And whenever she got a bit of spare time between lessons, she actually wanted to request her paper or paint. And we thought that would be a great moment and great opportunity to build for communication. Next, please. So what we actually did is we got the AAC ready, and we just worked on that one environment and that one page that the teachers had more confidence with as well. So we actually had the teachers model, oh, I want paper, so that they're talking for the child who's coming to them looking for the paper, or I want a marker. And we worked on modeling in a very easy, very short way and building on the repetition because it happened multiple times through the day as well. with working with the by working with the teachers, it became quite clear that not only were they gaining competence and the understanding of how the AAC system works, but more importantly, they were getting confidence to introduce it into the class, as they also saw that it also got the AAC user to start to respond. So it became important for me to think about what is it, where am I going to start? How am I going to make it simple so that the individual or the communication partner will have more confidence? But most importantly, in this case, how did I make sure that I made sure that the vocabulary was in place and the environment was thought out based on what the teachers could manage as well. Next, please. I think you skipped a lot of slides. Can you please go back?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think you can share that.
Yes. Yeah. So those are just some examples of how we can think about modeling for our communication partners. At SPD, we did recognize, like I mentioned, that it is important to break down that action of modeling for many of our communication partners here that we work with. And what we did is we broke it down in two manuals. One is a basic manual on modeling, and another one is a manual on modeling for caregivers and professionals. The basic manual on modeling is actually quite basic in the sense that any rung of communication partners, even unfamiliar communication partners who don't know much about AAC or disabilities, can quickly hop on to how to model very basic things with to communicate with different individuals. The manual on modeling is more in depth, where there are more opportunities to practice, think about how the AAC user is responding, and learn how to respond and model more effectively as well. So if you're keen to see and download these free manuals, you can hop on to the spd.org.sg website and then fill out this really quick questionnaire to help us send it across to you. Next, please. In the manual, you can see that there is a lot of detail and a lot of thought that's gone into it. We work very closely with experts in the area of AAC in Asia, and we actually have a lot of Q&As, which I hear some of the questions also came about in this chat as I began as well. So some of the Q&As are mentioned, but in relation to modeling and AAC are mentioned in the manuals. There are a lot of sample ideas and practice tasks, and the videos, like you can see, are being used for this presentation. There are a lot of video examples to teach different skills about modeling as well. So as I mentioned, you can hop onto the SPD website if you're keen to know more, or you're curious to download the manuals as well. Next, please. So far, we've actually talked about educating using modeling, and now we're talking about weighting. Next one, click, please. Yeah, so we're talking about weighting. So another area that becomes very important, in my opinion, to teach communication partners across all the rungs or the levels is weighting. We do know that weighting is challenging. Even as a clinician who's been working with children and adults who use AAC for a while, sometimes I do forget to wait. But we do need to recognize that the lack of waiting leads to challenges in conversations for the AAC user. Many times we do a lot of leading in the conversation. We will start the conversation, we'll continue to add a lot of topics, leaving less opportunity for the AAC user to respond. So what becomes important is to recognize this, to understand that yes, waiting can ensure that the communication partner gets more opportunities, and they may be able to also advocate or start or initiate what they want to say. Next, please. So when we're thinking about talking about weighting for communication partners, we do need to educate them on telling them that by waiting, you're allowing them some time to think about what you're asking, to actually process what the question is or what you're suggesting, to be able to formulate the response. By waiting, you're also giving them the opportunity to start or initiate the conversation and also allow a lot more back and forth. So those opportunities will be built. Next, please. So I'm going to play a very short clip here about with a mom. Just 1 second, please. With a mom who's interacting with her son. This video is again from a manual on modeling. And you're actually going to see how the mom is responding and waiting for the child as he's taking his turns in the conversation. So we'll play a bit of the video. Next, please.
I made something yummy today for you to eat. You have something to say? Okay, what do you want to say?
We'll stop here.
Is it this one?
So these are one of the lessons or the interactive videos that we have in the manual, but I wanted to share this video to talk about the waiting. Sometimes waiting can feel long, but what you can see from this video is how importantly the communication partner is engaged while waiting as well. Next, please.
You want more? Do you want more?
Can you go to the next slide, please?
Some more.
Yeah. So to help communication partners learn to wait, I hear myself advocating for those pauses as well. So many times the lifelong partners or the paid partners who are engaged with the AAC communication and teaching of communication partners may need to be the advocates for the pauses. I hear myself saying things like, just wait a bit longer. I think he has something to say. Or I don't think he's finished his thought. Let's wait a second. Or let's hear what he or she has to say. And these are very important advocacy codes or things that we can say in that moment that can really empower the AAC user to be able to communicate as well and remind the communication partner that we do need to wait a bit longer. Sometimes 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, we may need to wait that long. It does feel a little long for us in this age of TikTok and everything happening really quickly, but it's important to remember that it is necessary when we're looking at communicating effectively as well. Next, please. So what we do want to do is talk about waiting, and while we're waiting, really watching what is being communicated, and then connecting with the individual as well. Next. So to elaborate a little about what it means to engage with waiting with different communication partners, I want to take an example of a family that I work with, and the mom and the child were the mom was the main communication partner of the child who uses AAC, and she wanted to build other relatives and build in other communication partners who are family members and broaden the communication environment for the child and the opportunities to communicate. She realized that the boy who really, really enjoyed engaging with his cousins, and the cousins would come maybe a few times a month and actually spend time playing or roughhousing a bit with the child. The child absolutely was thrilled to meet these children and also play with them. And we really talked very much about this, the mom and I, and we said, yes, I think this is a great time we can push in a bit of building or educating communication partners. And the mom was very quick to actually think about, let's actually get them to wait and allow the boy to actually take a turn in communicating and use the AAC system. So what she did is she decided we'd play a very simple game that everyone would love. And it was just a tower, like a Jenga block game, and then decided that we're going to take turns and allow everyone to take a turn. What she did is she did need to advocate for the weights. And like I was saying in the previous slide, actually mentioned that, hey, let's watch what's happening. Let's see what the boy has to say. And what did happen after a few weeks of doing this is that the children themselves were advocating for each other to wait for the child and the other cousins who were in the group as well. So effectively, they started to wait a little longer, but also started to push the AAC to be used for communication moments. So sometimes it does require the main communication partner to be involved, but also to advocate for the waiting and the turn taking as well in the communication moment. But yes, it does take time, but in this case, it definitely paid off because every time now they come, they look forward to playing together and communicating together. Next, please. The last part that I do want to talk about is something that will actually integrate all the information we've talked about. So far, we've talked about who are communication partners and who can be those communication partners we think about. Could it be the unfamiliar person or unknown person we're going to meet along the way, or an acquaintance that we meet maybe once a week? Or could it be other relatives or friends as well? But we need to think about when we're thinking about the opportunities for communication, we think about two things which are of priority. One, think about the routines that the person has. What routines will allow the engagement with different communication partner, and who is in that routine? And most importantly, in my opinion, is that routine or is that interaction going to be motivating for the communication partner? And I think this becomes more and more important in the early years when we're engaging with AAC use as well, looking at not only the routines, but the motivation that the AAC user has. Next, please. So to talk a little about how this can be integrated, I'm going to take you through 3 different examples to help you think about what it could be like in your perspective as well, or what it could be like for you. So one of the examples is of a boy who really enjoyed going to a lot of physical activity and going to play basketball after school every week, once a week. The mom realized that this was very motivating. And what was most motivating was where the boy got to meet the coach and got to really say, let's go play, or greet the coach as well. So even though this wasn't a very easy decision, it took a while for us to think about who is going to be that communication partner we're going to expand to. We decided to use one of the paid partners, who was the basketball coach. The coach had never really used AAC, so we started at the level that the coach was and decided, yes, we're just going to start with one page and build confidence of getting the child to use the AAC with the coach. The mom decided she would go a little earlier every time for the basketball coaching and be able to use it as an opportunity to allow the child to use it to say, hey, how are you? And the coach also started to use some expressions like, great, let's play. And there was a bit of the conversation that happened. So this was a very motivating routine where we did use and think about where the communication partner is in terms of skills. We actually worked with the communication partner and taught and educated them about modeling. And it's okay to wait, where the mom was also saying, yeah, he has something to say to you. Let's engage or let's interact as well. So sometimes we do need to think about the motivating routines and see how we can draw in on the communication partners that might be in those routines as well. Next. Another aspect I would like you to think about is sometimes we do need to build routines. And I thought this was quite nice of what happened amongst caregivers of parents themselves. At the Specialized Assistive Tech Center where I worked at SPD, my workplace, we have been running caregiver trainings for individuals who use AAC. So moms and dads and helpers would come for the caregiver training. We would engage with the caregivers and actually teach them and educate them on some skills. During the training, the caregivers would only meet. We would quite intentionally work on building connections between the caregivers because we know it is a community that will support each other. So when we were building the connections, it was amongst the caregivers alone. The children did not get to meet in these sessions. But what was really nice is that the parents decided that they're going to build routines and start an interaction group amongst themselves. So 3 or 4 parents from the parent training or the caregiver training started to get together during festivals and actually use it as opportunities to interact and use AACs. So the children who never met the others, so were unfamiliar at a point in time, started to meet those and started to make friends soon as well. And they were interacting using AAC and maybe even doing a simple craft. So one time I remember it was around Diwali and they were doing some Diwali crafts and drawing as well. So sometimes it is about building those routines for the AAC user where we can look at opportunities to get different communication partners in. So in this case, it was unfamiliar communication partners who then started to become acquaintances and then close friends as well. Next, please. Lastly, I do want to think about when we're thinking about opportunities for communication, we need to think about the AAC community that might be available. So in this case, I want to talk about AAC Singapore and the AAC Also Can wing. This is one of the wings where we run events and activities for AAC users and caregivers so that we can build interaction around an activity that we've chosen for that event. Many times in those events, we are getting volunteers who are unfamiliar with AAC, unfamiliar with persons with disabilities, and they will come and interact. These communication partners, I believe, do become important communication partners for the AAC users because they are coming with the intention of interacting and engaging as well. Next, please. So ahead of each of these training, those volunteers actually will be trained with strategies like modeling and waiting, and they'll be educated on how to use a little bit of the AAC as well and what an AAC is. So through the events, we have, in the different events that we have been running, it could be like a camp that we ran recently, or it could be, it was a play that we attended in the community as well. We've been running a variety of events, even going into workshops that are run, like pizza making workshops, and we get everyone together. It becomes quite intentional to look at moments of communication. But most importantly, what we do hope is that the communication partners start connecting with the families and the AAC users. And we're actually building those opportunities of, yes, I'm going to wait. I hear that you have something to share and something to tell me as well. So looking at the possible AAC community that might be available is also important. If you're interested in seeing what AAC Singapore does, you can visit our website or Instagram or Facebook page as well. Next, please. So to end this presentation, I do hope that from this presentation, and more importantly from the examples that I've been sharing, we're thinking about the communication partners that might be there for our child. I think it's quite easy to think about it theoretically, but when it comes to building it into a practical sense, we do need to advocate for AAC use, advocate for the opportunities, but also remember that educating can take time. There are families and teachers that I work for a year at a time, and then I start building and seeing the changes in the communication partner and the communication moments. So don't lose hope. It is a journey when we do look at advocating and working with communication partners. Most importantly, we want to ensure that the AAC user or the person who uses AAC has motivating moments and opportunities to communicate. This will ensure that the person would want to communicate over and over in those different opportunities that are created. So before I end, I just want to request everyone to go back into the chat and think about one person, one communication partner that might be new for your child or the person who uses AAC in your life, and maybe write down who would that communication partner be that you want to expand to. So I would like to end with that and like to hear those responses.
Can I stop sharing, please? Is that okay? Tanushree?
Yes, yes. Yes, you can stop sharing. Yes. So I hear sibling, relatives over the phone, grandparents, neighbors. I think that's wonderful, close relatives. And I think the opportunities that might come from that are going to be huge. Thank you all. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tanushree. I think that was a very interesting session. Just focusing on the communication partners, who they can be. And so it should have been very useful for those who are beginning the journey. Also, how the communication partner can, the weight was a very important part, and look for opportunities, look for motivation. I think the basketball coach was very interesting to see, like, yeah, everyone can think of what opportunities are there ahead and can expand their circle of communication partners. That was very nice to know. So quickly, let me just share the poll that you can all take right away before you leave. And we'll take the questions that come. There is one question from Kamal Sharma. Thank you for this wonderful session. Could you please guide what are the reinforcements food that you can use for children with selective eating or binge eating while aided language modeling? Not sure if this would be a part of this session.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to respond to that without really knowing the individual. So I'm sorry, I will not be able to give you specifics, but do talk to a clinician who understands feeding and work with the same clinician who might be doing AAC work as well. But it might be important to look at that. Yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah. Any other questions? Please feel free to ask. And as soon as we end the session, please do take the survey at the end of the session to share us your feedback so that we are always looking to improve the sessions that are coming up. Any other questions? Yeah, I think a good takeaway is that, yeah, you can all look out for more communication partners and advocate for the AAC user. And I think that creates more opportunities as well for your AAC user. Any other questions, or we can close the session? Request everyone to kindly take the poll. Can we use how to make the child use these cards? Yeah, you can create these cards. Yeah, Tanushree, do you want to take that? Is
The card
AAC helping?
Yeah.
The cards.
The cards, are they referring to the AAC system? Is that what you're referring to?
I think the cards that you showed on the video.
Okay. So actually the communication passport, the cards that were there that I was intending should be both-sided, is actually meant for either communication partners. So I as a clinician will pass it on to another clinician so that they understand the child better. Or it could be the family or the lifelong partners who will be with the child to be able to share it. Having said that, children or individuals who use AAC can also be taught to advocate for their needs. So those who may be able to learn will be able to learn that they can pass it on to a new communication partner so that they actually know how to respond to some of the gestures they may use. So yes, there will be a bit of teaching if we're going to get the children or the individual to use it. But other than that, it's intended that it gets passed from communication partner to communication partner too.
Others are relevant to the session, bilingual and some of them. Yeah. Any other questions related to the session? Please type in the question window in the question panel so that we can address it from one place. Okay, I think we've answered the queries. So thank you so much for joining, and thanks for the session. We hope everyone benefited from it.
Thank you so much.